All right, guys, a week ago, we celebrated our anniversary, and apparently it was the ultimate top signal because then the crypto markets took a dump, but we are here to pick up the pieces. We got Andy, we got CSU Ram 88, lots going on as usual. Let's do it. Damien, you can retire. Let's call up Steve Kerr right now. Tell him you're done. 3-on-2 game.
Oh, I'm an incredible basketball player. Awful shooter. Awful shooter.
Nasty jumper.
Would he ever gamble on shooting?
Here we go.
Me.
Let's
see.
We got jaw lighting up again.
On that note, let me go.
All right.
Club Top Shop going up on a Tuesday.
Love. It does seem like, Andy, if someone did one of those charts and then pointed to Club Top Shot anniversary show, and then everything, it was just like immediately after that.
Yeah, you know, it's not great. It's not great.
Yeah,
you gotta do. I'm happy that we were a part of the top signal, though. I think that's like a good sign.
it is. Yeah, we'd like to classify ourselves as an up only kind of show, so we did our part. Does anything about this dump feel different or weird to you, or just kind of business as usual in the crypto space?
Yeah, I'd say what's weird about it is like a ton of people are just like, yeah, guys, it's the bear market now. Like, well, who knows? Things will go down a lot more. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It feels like people are like very okay with that being the case, which I feel like doesn't normally happen when you have like a pretty big dip. But also, like, it seems relatively correlated to like pretty large macro things outside of crypto, with like the stock market and, you know, pending like global war, which are, you know, it doesn't have very much to do with crypto, it feels like.
It also had that feel too, like for a lot of people that came into crypto for the first time, you know, this year, that they've been told from other people, like, be prepared for your bear market. It's not always up only, to where there was almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy with it, where people were like, oh, one market correction, this is my bear market, ready to hunker down into hibernation. It's like, well, maybe we aren't in a bear market. Maybe it's just a pullback.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely interesting because this is the first well, when you think about it, if you've just been in like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they've been in a relative bear market for like 2 months now, basically, since like November. They've essentially been down only since then. And so like you can make the case that for those like majors, they've basically been in a bear market for 2 months, and then this was like capitulation, and everyone's like, all right, this shit's done, dump it. But it's hard because a lot of other like random shitcoins and stuff have gone up a lot during that same period of time. But like it kind of, for me, it like kind of fits some of my larger general thesis on like where crypto stuff is going, in that like we're going to have these more isolated markets that are bull and bear, and they're going to be really, really fast. And it's going to be like, oh yeah, this thing was a bull market for 2 months, and then this thing was a bear market. And it was like all DeFi tokens for the last year have been down. And so like they've been in a bear market for a very long time. And so it like kind of generally subscribes to that theory of like everything's going to go through these really weird, really fast bull and bear markets. But who the hell knows?
Who the hell knows? Maybe Peter Jennings knows. The mayor. What do you say, Pete?
Yeah, I have a pretty strong opinion on this. I guess I should say it's a pretty strong view. My read is, you know, once Powell came out hawkish for the first time on the 8th, that's when risk on as a whole really started to trade off. And crypto kind of aligns with like the high growth stocks just in the movement. It's not perfect, obviously, and there's, of course, bull markets within crypto. But from a price action standpoint, it's been pretty close. And I think it's interesting because I think the fundamentals of crypto are honestly at like an all-time high. You know, the amount of talent, people coming in, obviously hash rates. There's a lot of things that you can look at to measure network effect that are very positive for crypto in general. But my sense of what's happened is mostly just relative to a lot of the money that's been sucked out of the ecosystem. I mean, it's about $10 trillion now that has gone away with these pullbacks. And crypto, I think, we were at like what, 3-something trillion at the high. Now we're at like what, 1.7 some trillion. So crypto just participated in that because it's still traded as like a heavily risk on asset. And we'll see. Tomorrow's a huge day. We'll see what Powell says, but hopefully long term, crypto decouples a little bit from kind of this overall thesis. And I think as the fundamentals continue to go well, we'll see more and more adoption and cool stuff happening. So
yeah, and I will say, like, so the last time there was, like, I was talking to Ali about this the other day, and I was like, that was one of the worst drops I've ever seen in my time in crypto over the last 5 years of like owning crypto. And so granted, I missed some of the like really, really bad bear market in like 2015, 2016. That was before I got into crypto. I kind of joined with very little money, but like right at the start of things picking up at the start of 2017, like spring 2017. And what feels different to me, the last time that something like this happened to this magnitude was March 2020. And like at that point, no one was really using crypto. It didn't really have very much mainstream adoption. And there was a legitimate fear at that time that it was like, oh my God, this is all going to zero. Like there are more important things happening in the world, and like it might just all be over. Like the carousel ride may have just stopped. And so what feels very, very different this time is like that is in no way the sentiment right now. It's like, yeah, there are these larger macro things. There's a lot of stuff happening. It's been up only for a very long time, but no one is like, crypto might be over. And so that to that extent, like it feels very different from my other experiences where there was significantly less adoption and like just money being pumped into companies and people building things and everything kind of in and around the space, to which like, sure, in the short term it might stay down, but it like was significantly scarier back in 2020 or 2018.
Well, it does seem just in general, like with people continuing to build and build and build, the floor always raises, right? Where like probably when you were talking about that a year ago, 2 years ago, when there's that pullback, it feels like, well, maybe the foundation just isn't good here and it just all falls out. But now the amount of people building, the amount of stuff with DeFi and NFTs that weren't even really here the last time there was a main pullback seems like it gives more sturdy ground for the entire space.
Yeah, for sure. I saw some people like commenting around how generally these things are, they're going to shake out the people who didn't really have as much conviction into people who are very excited to be buying at particular prices. But yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't really change very much. Like in the short term, I think you can probably make some money trading the volatility that's going to come over the next few months, but I suck at that. So I'm going to try not to. I took it more as an opportunity to, dump out of some stuff that maybe I didn't have as much conviction in and move into things I was more excited about. But all at the same time, like I think to me, one of the big indicators that things are not nearly as bad as it can seem if you just look at the chart is like NFTs are going crazy.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely people are still definitely pretty interested in taking risk and doing crazy things, just different market.
Does that surprise you that they feel almost decoupled NFTs from crypto prices, or are people just so fixated in pricing things in ETH that everything is just kind of held steady?
Yeah, I think, I mean, NFTs are definitely the most USD denominated market. And I think like what makes it a little less surprising is you see a bunch of celebrities buying NFTs and traditional non-crypto people who have gotten wealthy at some point in their life through one way or another, who are happy to spend 5 figures plus on random garbage on the internet. And they are definitely way more denominated in USD than the crypto people. And so to me, seeing NFTs still do well is kind of a larger like macro symbol that there's more people playing in the NFT space who are dollar denominated than there are in the crypto space who are purely dollar denominated, where you like just like you have like the Hate Prime or whatever it's called, Hate Beast Prime, whatever, that have like a bunch of like Instagram people. It's not even like my circle of crypto people are not buying those NFTs. I don't know who are the like whales of that NFT project, but there are people out there who are buying them. And I just like have to imagine that there are significant chunks of people who are just traditionally wealthy or have made money doing different things who are excited to buy at a cheaper price because it's all priced in Ethereum.
And it also, I mean, we've talked too about, people getting emotionally attached to their NFTs in a way that they wouldn't to a fungible token. It's way easier to exit a shit coin versus the picture that you've had as your profile, for the past 2 years. Like, sure, maybe you own 10 of them and you can dump a few that you don't like, but for a lot of holders, it's not as easy just parting with something that you have that kind of emotional connection with. I mean, Pete, even if you were very fearful about CryptoPunk prices dropping, I'm guessing you'd have a hard time selling your hoodie.
Yeah, that'd be the last NFT I sell. So, I mean, I'm feeling pretty stupid. I sold that Bored Ape, so I'm feeling a lot of FOMO and feeling like I should buy back in. Can you guys give me some unbiased feedback? What are you guys thinking on apes right now?
I also do not own an ape right now, and also feel FOMO.
Yeah, I bought one pretty late for like, I think it was 49 when the floor was like 30 something, and then I sold it for 88.88 when the floor was like in the 70s.
Yeah, so
ETH was higher. Dollar amount, it might actually be still pretty flat, but
I found apes so hard all around.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad, but it was a really good learning experience. So they were shared when they were minting in the Pleaser DAO chat. And so like there was a couple of Pleaser DAO members who minted a lot of apes. And I missed that. And then there were even Pleaser DAO members after the minting was over who were like, yeah, well, I'll just give you apes at cost if anyone wants them because like they're cool. And I didn't even accept one of those. I was like busy doing other shit. I didn't take basically a free Bored Ape. Obviously if I had known I would have taken one, but I didn't. And so then I bought one at one of the DMT ones at 3 or 4 ETH when they were like a 2 ETH floor or something, and then I sold it for like 15 or something like that. And at the same time, there was like this really shitty NFT project called like, I don't know, it was like the Rat something or other that did like raffles for NFTs. So they like sold a bunch of NFTs and then they like raffled off. They like bought a bunch of blue chip NFTs and would raffle them off. And I won a Bored Ape from that. I put in like 0.8 Ethereum and minted 10 of these things, and I won a Bored Ape that was worth like 2 ETH at the time, and I sold it for like 5. So that was another mistake. And then I bought one when the mutants were coming out. I bought one for a lot, and then I basically like bought both serums for it, minted both of the mutants, and then sold everything with the ape like at cost because they dipped after the mutants came out, and then I sold it for like 75 ETH. And yeah, obviously in retrospect, I wish I hadn't, but at the same time, like I bought a bunch of doodles and other stuff with it. And so I've been coping by just buying more of that like mid-tier stuff and hoping that pays off, but who knows?
Well, I'm curious, Pete, because it seemed like, so buying and selling that ape, you were kind of willing to play the market on that. Going back to the emotional attachment thing, are you not willing to as much play the market on punks? Or I guess what made you willing to part with it there? I assumed when you bought it that you were like, I want exposure to this. I just want to sit on this. If this continues to rocket, I want to make sure I'm properly hedged or whatever.
Yeah. That was most of the time I do things long-term. And then, to start the year with the kind of just the action and risk on markets and just life in general, from a portfolio perspective, I felt like I was a little too overweight NFTs. So I started going through like my substantial stuff and it was like, yeah, do I want to sell punk right now or do I want to sell this ape? And apes were ripping and it just felt a lot better from a timing perspective. But who knows? And what's transpired is really interesting. And, you're hearing this $5 billion raise now for Bored Apes. And it's interesting. I mean, I think I don't know. I was wrong initially, and my thesis, I guess, around selling it too at the time was that I was overweight, but also risk on assets are getting battered, and NFTs haven't gotten hit yet. And my assumption was that at some point that would actually come to fruition, but that has not been the case. So we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. I'm really bullish NFTs long term. I just trying to position for I think one thing that's important, if you've been in this space for a long time, you always want to be in a position to accumulate tokens and assets in real bear markets. So coming into the 2022, I was definitely overexposed broadly to crypto, NFTs, all of those things. So over the last couple of weeks, I've just tried to position myself a little bit more balanced and in a position where I can just chill if we have chop, and if things go down, I can accumulate other assets.
What do you think, Andy, when you hear the $5 billion evaluation for Bored Apes?
Sounds kind of low, honestly. It's like the upside potential of Bored Apes is like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it really depends on what the, what that raise means. Is it for IP? Is it for like a ERC20 token? It depends. So generally, when companies are raising these types of rounds, I don't know why I would know this. No reason personally or anything. Not financial advice, but generally when these companies raise rounds, what they do is they sell equity, and the typical agreement is it's kind of like you sell equity with the agreement that should you release a token in the future, there's some type of kind of sometimes more handshake, sometimes significantly more legally binding agreement that you will also distribute that token to shareholders of the company. Typically in the range of like anywhere from 30 to 60% of the token supply. And it really depends for every group. Like Bored Apes in a position of incredible leverage where they can really not dilute themselves too much and do something like that. And probably what they're doing is really just doing this raise to bring on investors for help with like legal and shit like that, where they just want to make sure they have all the right people on board. And yeah, I saw someone say that initially they were raising at $1.5 billion. I'm not surprised it was a bidding war for this. But so realistically, probably if they're raising at a $5 billion valuation, it probably means that the expected like valuation of their token that they're raising at is 10 billion. That's like the minimum kind of generally accepted way that you would do that, which is pretty insane. But at the same time, we haven't really ever had like a super fluid way to price these things, and so who the hell knows what it's worth. I've honestly no idea at this point. I'm pretty past trying to like rationally compare it to things that I've experienced in the past.
Yeah.
How much do you think there's? Oh, go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say U Labs is really positioned well. One comp that I think is reasonable to look at, that I would argue, and I think U Labs has done an unbelievable job, and they're positioned as well as anyone, especially from an NFT project perspective. But Roblox is a game that I think is worth looking at, and a company that's worth looking at. I think like if you were to ask me like what the metaverse is right now, I would actually say like the closest thing is kind of what exists within Roblox. Obviously, that's going to evolve over time, but this is a tremendous company with huge growth, lots of revenue. They're obviously spending, but an unbelievable amount of users. Their market cap is about 40 billion. So that's interesting. Like you can look at that multiple ways, but to me, I don't know. You can make an argument that Bored Apes is cheap relative to that, and then Bored Apes is also really expensive considering some of the the adoption of Roblox versus the adoption of Bored Apes. Obviously, much different in terms of communities and whatnot. But that's my kind of thought process around pricing some of these projects. And crypto is a lot different. There's liquidity in the token stuff is huge, and we'll see what kind of market we have. But Roblox is also traded similar to crypto. It's a very risk-on stock if you just look at the crypto or the chart of Roblox.
Andy, do you think a project like Bored Apes, obviously it gets to a size like that and they have to release a roadmap and, treat it more like a business. Do you think a project needs a token to succeed at that valuation, that there's actual, utility and use case for it, or is that just a fancy line item on a roadmap?
My opinion on this has gone back and forth so much. I think that people have found this really interesting loophole in not doing an ICO but doing an ICO. And I don't know, maybe that's the wrong way to think about it, but it's like if you launch, so I think apes are in a less of in the situation of doing this where they didn't promise ape token when they launched or anything. But now when these projects are like, hey, buy these PFP NFTs and then you stake them to earn our random thing immediately after the fact, it's like they're selling the rights to tokens without actually selling the tokens in a lot of ways, which I don't know, who the hell knows what that means. But I think that they don't need a token. I think it's kind of crazy the valuations people think this token will trade at, because to me it's worth significantly less than the Bored Apes IP and all of that. What the hell does this token govern? The most valuable things in Bored Apes are the collectibles, and if they're not, then it's really bearish for Bored Apes. If what the most valuable thing Bored Apes are going to produce is this ERC20 governance token, then why the hell do I want a Bored Ape? We'll just buy your token. It doesn't matter. So I really have no idea, honestly. I think it is more contingent on creating this ecosystem where it's what if Supreme had a token and you could only buy Supreme clothing with their ERC20 token? Would that be more valuable than a box logo hoodie? I have no idea. I don't really know what that looks like or means. That's the best comparison that I can come up with. But it's really hard because I think it's essentially something that hasn't really been done very much.
Pete, did I see when I was reading, maybe I was listening to a Bales interview or was reading something, and he was talking about Lucky Trader token. Do you have more on that you can talk about?
When Lucky Trader token?
I'm not speaking out of school, right? He said that somewhere publicly, I want to say.
Did he? Well,
yeah,
news to me, but yeah, that's something we're actively thinking about. And to me, I think what's important when thinking about a token, and everyone was saying we should do this in February, March, or whatever. I know Andy's probably had when token is something always asked for fractional. But to me, it's really about creating something that actually has tangible value. There's a lot of protocols that are solving real problems where the token clearly is going to have value. I think in the collectible space, or there's definitely a lot of tokens out there right now that, to me, I don't really see what the long-term value is. So, we would never want to just launch a token for the sake of launching a token, even though it might benefit us short-term financially. So I want to be really thoughtful about it. And yeah, that's something Bales thinks about a lot. I like games. I like incentive structures. I love the lottery payouts that exist in some of the tokenomics. Yeah, and I think there's some interesting opportunities for us as we help people on board, and we definitely want to work with our partners to give away assets. Just like last week, the Bales thing was a great thing, and imagine you had to have a lucky token or whatever to enter that. Something like that's very interesting to me.
Andy, are there any projects or tokens that you think have been executed well or are actually serving a unique purpose, or that surprised you in a way?
Let me think. As far as NFT ones go, I think the ones that have done the best so far have been the ones where they kind of just transitioned to a governance token as opposed to the NFTs, where you see Magic or something, where they, you staked some random loot-based tokens to earn Magic, and now it's its own thing, and they have other tokens, they have a bunch of stuff. It seems like those have done pretty well. I'm excited to see I think Milk has a chance to be pretty interesting with the Cool Cats, where they're really creating a full game and ecosystem. I think a lot of it is just contingent on, if you're making a game, the game has to be good. Otherwise, why do I want your random shitty token? Trying to think if there's anything else
While you think, I got an example that I've owned the token and farming within a game. Atlas and Polis are really interesting to me. Star Atlas, I think, has a lot of potential, although super disappointed in the last week or two on the Solana technology, especially during the bear market. It's so funny. It's like they're always raving about their tech, and then anytime we have a lot of stress on a system, it seems Solana's had issues. So I guess that's one reason to be bearish. But yeah, it's really interesting how Atlas and Polis play in that ecosystem. So we'll see. I'm optimistic. I think what Creeps are doing is really interesting. I think Milk has a great chance to be really cool. Trying to think what else is
Give me what's the TLDR on Milk? I know it's the cool cat stuff, but what are they doing that makes it more promising than some of these other tokens?
Andy would know better than me. I know Jason Bales wrote something really deep on it for us, but I know a little bit.
Yeah, I don't have an insane amount of depth of knowledge on it. I think that in general, it seems like they're making a Pokemon style game, which is cool, and I'm pretty interested in personally. And so that's really the biggest thing for me is it seems like generally the projects that made an NFT and started building stuff and then decided to do a token because it made sense or something where they had at least a little more substantiated ground for what they wanted to do, I'm generally more bullish on because it feels like they're not just kind of trying to grift their way to a token and some money. Because I don't think it's very hard to just make up some fun idea of what your project could be and be able to pretty easily mint out a project. And so it seems like their whole general idea around a Pokemon style thing is pretty interesting. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Oh yeah, David reminds me in the chat. What's our update on Andy's Survivor game? David, already predicting a tribe token here for the Survivor game.
Yeah, no. So I decided that if I wanted to do it, I wanted to try to do a little bit better than what I was going to do. And so I've been talking with some friends who I think are going to help me try to make it better, and potentially turn it into something a little bigger. So we'll see. But decided I'd rather hold off. If I'm going to do it right, and figure all that out. But still coming, still in the works. Just trying to make it better.
There you go. So maybe we have a UI now. Is that what that means?
Maybe.
Actually, talk to me about. I saw you tweeting about Parallel today. I know very little about it. The last time they did that drop, I went after it and got some of my Parallel cards, and I still have not even investigated what I bought or what I will potentially be able to do with those. Can you talk to me about why you're excited about Parallel and maybe why someone like me should be excited about it?
Yeah, so they're making a card game, which in and of itself, if you don't like card games, probably not that exciting. But I think they're a really, really experienced team in just generally building in the space of trading cards, and they have people who used to work on Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering and be professional trading card players and stuff on the team. And so they released a pretty big thing today they called the Prime Proposal, which is essentially their white paper about kind of how does the game work, not as much the in-game mechanics, but what do the cards do? Do you stake them to earn Prime, which is their in-game token? How does Prime work? What are the sinks for Prime? How do they emit more Prime? How is it play to earn? What does that look like? And it was just really, really well done. Very, very thoughtful, very thorough. And I think people are generally just into the thematics of Parallel as well, and that it's sci-fi strategy card game fun thing that it kind of aligns well with what crypto Twitter people's interests would be. But I'm personally very excited for it. I used to play pretty competitive Hearthstone, and so I'm excited to have like a play to earn crypto card game that's like right up my alley.
Yeah. It seems like you're saying, I mean, everyone now is promising a game, and you're saying that these guys, their track record is pretty proven on the execution stand.
Yeah, I think they're one of the ones where they kind of like it started with being a game and then turned into a lot more, as opposed to like starting with being a profile picture drop and turning into a game. And I'm significantly more excited and bullish on the teams that start out saying, "Hey, let's build a game that's like native to crypto," because they probably have a better chance of executing on that. And that's really, to me, the biggest risk is if you make a game that's trash and no one wants to play it, then long term you're probably not going to do great.
Peter, do you have interest in crypto games at all, or are crypto games just stuff that make your coins go up?
No, I'm very interested. I love gaming. I'd love to have some more time to actually dive in and yeah, I mean, I played EverQuest back in the day, and I remember like I ran like an online casino within that game. I mean, it was for assets within EverQuest that were I guess you could sell on like eBay or whatever. But I spent a lot of time there and played Hearthstone. Actually, a boatload when I ruptured my Achilles. That was one of the things I did to pass the time when I couldn't walk. And yeah, I think it's really interesting. I wish I had a little more bandwidth to dive deep. I'm not like a hardcore gamer by any means, but I'm interested. And as you know, like we were playing League of Legends DFS during like the start of COVID. Like I actually watched quite a bit of League of Legends and like got pretty nerdy with the strategy. And so, yeah, I'm a nerd at heart. So I love games.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with this, but Andy, it sounds like Skyweaver might be something you know about.
Yeah, it's another one that they're going into public beta pretty soon. It's been in development for a very long time. It's on Polygon, I think. I don't know too much more than that, but it's definitely one I'm going to try out when the time comes.
Yeah. And then Pete, this is one for you. You're the Terra Maxi, right?
Oh yeah.
I own a good chunk of Terra. I'm staking it in the Luna.
You have Luna, or what do you have?
Osmosis.
What do you have within the Terra ecosystem?
I just have Luna. So I have Luna. I had some UST for a bit in Anchor, and then I can't not be fully risk on. So I bought a bunch more stuff in like the Cosmos ecosystem.
Okay.
And so I have it all on Osmosis right now, staking to earn Osmo.
Yeah, I love it. Finally.
Andy's
giving me all the alpha. I gave
IBC
Andy a little bit of alpha to start the year. I've been a big Luna bull, and who knows? Things can always change. But from a UI UX perspective, I think what they've built is brilliant. I think Oquan is probably the best in terms of tokenomics. If they can sustain Anchor, it's really, really interesting. If they can keep the UST peg, it's really interesting. And there's a lot of stuff going on in that ecosystem. Definitely where I'm playing a lot, but there's a lot of risk, all this stuff. There's still a lot of risk. And I think we're at a very interesting point in time right now where depending on how tomorrow goes and a couple of things, like we could see a huge rip up, or we could see a lot more carnage. So the most likely obviously is the status quo we get what we're expecting from Powell, but it is a really interesting point like tonight. Like I'm definitely looking through everything I have and thinking about it.
What are the things you're looking to hear in either direction tomorrow?
Well, it just depends on how hawkish he is. So there's the tapering, which I think is, the consensus right now is ending sometime in July. It's already started to slow down. Maybe it's March, actually. I can't remember if it's March or July, which they're stopping the tapering. But the bigger and most important thing is interest rates. And I think the market's pricing in 3.5 rate hikes right now, 3 to 4. Like Goldman thinks it's 4. A lot of people think it's 3, and the size of those rate hikes really is going to be a huge indicator. And that part makes sense that it impacts crypto because, as rates go higher, there's less incentive to go really far out the risk curve because you have more immediate returns, which can compound. So we'll see. I've gotten really nerdy about all this like macro econ stuff, and yeah, very interesting point in time.
Was there any getting spooked on that last pullback with some of the stable coins potentially depegging?
Yeah, of course. There always is a little worry. I mean, that's the thing with like Luna and UST, like those succeed together or fail together in almost every scenario. So for me, being involved in that ecosystem, it's something I'm always thinking about. But it was much, much closer to debegging and being in big trouble earlier in 2021. So I was actually skiing during that whole carnage, and I knew I was going to be skiing, so I don't mess around with leverage much anyways, but was in a very, safe position. And I was still surprised to come back from skiing to see just a crazy, crazy pullback. I was with Jeremy Levine, actually. Shout out Underdog.
I've been seeing his Instagram stories on the slopes.
Yeah, we had a great time. Friday, we got a good bit of snow, and it was awesome.
I was talking to them. I'm going to be out in LA at the Underdog House for the Super Bowl. I'm getting pretty excited.
Oh, sick. Hell yeah. Are you going to go to the game, or are you just hanging out there?
I think we're just hanging out. I haven't gotten many details from it, but I might be interested in pulling the trigger on a ticket. I got to talk to like Jack and Ercolano and those guys and see what everybody's thinking. But
yeah, you guys want to hear the worst news ever?
I
have to be at a wedding on Super Bowl Sunday.
What on a wedding, even on a Sunday, much less the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I am going to be in Florida at a wedding where Allie is in the bridal party, and so I don't know anyone there. I'm just going to be at this wedding where I know no one, missing the Super Bowl. It's
goes into the night, so that it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it's just like legitimately at the same time as the Super Bowl.
Wow,
that is so.
It's
and
Sunday evening, Super Bowl Sunday.
It is. Oh my God. There has to be a cohort of people that are just going to be at the bar, right? Just watching the game.
I mean, luckily I pay for an illegal streaming service where I can definitely pull it up on my phone. But it's going to be brutal. It's going to be really bad. I'm just glad the Patriots aren't in it, honestly. It's like the one year where I have like a legitimate excuse to be like, I'm kind of glad the Patriots aren't in the Super Bowl.
Do you think it was like an accident and then they realized it, or they like intentional, or they didn't care?
I think they I mean, I literally never met either of the people who are getting married. I don't really know. I think it must have been a mistake because it's normally the week prior because the season was a week longer and everything. It's a little bit later in the year. I know the girl really wanted to have it close to Valentine's Day, which is I don't know, because I think Valentine's Day is the next day or something, and so I don't know. I'm just down tremendously.
Well, there's like two ways this can go, right? It can be because you don't know a lot of people, you can kind of disappear into the background of the wedding if Allie's occupied with wedding events, or it's even more awkward where there's kind of a spotlight on you, or you're trying to, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how this breaks for you trying to watch this game.
Yeah, I don't think a ton of Allie's friends are even going to be. I think it's a friend from high school. And so I think it's going to be like a couple friends from high school and then mostly her adult life friends. So I think odds are I can probably sneak away for a good chunk of it, or I'm going to try to. But it's just brutal all around.
And it's not like I would be mad if I had to go to a wedding on just a regular NFL Sunday, but Super Bowl Sunday is just so bad. Like, and the bride, it's not like the bride's going to willingly put a TV up for everyone to come watch and take away from my big day. She's probably going around unplugging all of the TVs.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, but
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I would be tilting so hard. I mean, so what's the are you rooting for the worst possible Super Bowl? What do you want? Like Bengals 49ers and then you get the least amount of FOMO?
Probably. I don't know. I think of the four teams that are left, I'm actively rooting for the Bengals. So maybe what I'm rooting for is like Chiefs Niners and the Niners win in like this weird, ugly defensive game where like Mahomes gets hurt or something. I'm just rooting for like just like a strange Super Bowl.
I have a feeling your Twitter is going to be very good that night because you're going to be hammered and tilting and trying to sneak in parts of this game. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I think so.
Pete, you going to come to the Underdog House? Have you built up any goodwill in the house? You're muted.
I want to. I really want to come out to LA, but my biggest issue is that it's also it's the day I bet the most of the year. So I should be home to just work, candidly. But we'll see.
What are you just getting action down on all the props?
Yeah. It's the greatest game ever to bet props.
Yeah.
I've been betting props like pretty heavy for 5-6 years now. And it's growing. And I have a feeling Colorado is going to have a wide range of offerings. So not having, like, we used to go to Vegas and like did that whole song and dance of like betting and like waiting and then betting at books the day of. And yeah, doing it here in Colorado is going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, I've heard.
And so what is it? Just because there's so many people who are not sharp who are betting that you just get really nice lines for props and stuff, or they make so many like obscure ones?
Broadly, how it works is a couple places will come out with props, and then everyone will release. And there's normally value in the very beginning, like right as the Super Bowl set, and betting props, and then you wait all throughout the next 2 weeks, and then day of, there's normally value again because all these donks are firing overs, and you can bet some of the unders again. That's like a very broad sense of it, but like, and of course there's some overs that are good bets and whatever else, but in general, unders are the better bets for props. And game day, normally there's a really good chance, especially if it's like a sexy game. Like Tyreek Hill is a perfect example. He'd have like really, really high yardage props, and if you look at his distributions, like his yardage prop is close to his mean, but if you compare it to his median, it's actually, because he has those games when he goes off where he has 250 yards, which raises his mean a lot, but his median is actually much lower. So as his total gets bet up, there's normally some value there. And of course, he can still torch it and whatever else. We had the under on the Mahomes rushing yards the year that they won the Super Bowl against San Fran. And if you remember the last play, he like ran backwards for like 15 or 20 yards. That won it for us. That was the luckiest prop win that I've ever had.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast with your buddy Rufus Peabody, I feel like a year or so ago, and he was talking about like driving all around Vegas in IRL to get money down on these because it was his biggest day of the year too. Yeah,
Rufus is a homie, and Rufus has a lot of incredible IP around the Super Bowl. So he's a stud, and I can't driving around is not ideal, I'll tell you that. And then one of the years we actually bet in Vegas is February of 2020. And then you have COVID happen, and then all the casinos shut down. So any of the tickets that weren't cashed, like you're just sitting on for a stretch of time. That was not good. But long story short, excited to be in Colorado to bet it. But maybe I'll figure out a way to get out to LA.
Yeah.
Tickets are insane. Did you guys see? It's Mookie asked about my Ravens tweet. Did you guys see that tweet that I sent?
No, I saw Mookie say it.
Dude, Jack got me so much shit for that tweet because he replied. And so I tweeted out after like the first drive of the Bills game that Josh Allen is what the Ravens wish Lamar Jackson was.
Oh, God, Andy.
And Jack replied. And so then I had so many angry Ravens fans in my mentions. Like it had hundreds, like 100 quote tweets, all these replies. I had people saying that I was being racist, and like it was insane. And then like that's how I knew I had a really, really good tweet, because people were like, a bunch of Ravens fans who do not follow me were like, the Ravens are living in your head rent free and all this. And I was like, I'm a Patriots fan. I don't care about comparing Josh Allen to Lamar Jackson. Yeah, look at that quote tweets to retweets.
Oh God!
Yeah, look, racially motivated.
I like this guy.
The cancel culture and virtual signaling has got to go. It is just out of control how bad it's gotten.
Oh,
like you're just making like a comment about, and Josh Allen, by the way, is a lot better. That quarterback play in that game. That might have been the best quarterback play I've ever seen. And I think Josh Allen. I was having this conversation actually before the game. I think Josh Allen might be like a top 5 athlete in the whole world.
Oh yeah, he's incredible. He's so good. I wish he wasn't good.
Just like from an athlete perspective, like how many people are better athletes than Josh Allen? Yeah. Like LeBron in his prime, I'd put up there. Man, like Ja Morant is a very different type of athlete now that I think is like right there. Obviously, you could look at like soccer players, some hockey players are super. Like Connor McDavid probably deserves to be in conversation. But Josh Allen, I mean, he is so big and strong. He's hurdling NFL players. He's running them over. He's running around them. And then, by the way, the guy has like the strongest arm, like in maybe the history of the NFL. I mean, one of the strongest arms ever. So I think he's special. And then you have Mahomes on the other side, who's, at this point in time, if Mahomes were to never play another NFL game, I mean, where does he rank in like the quarterback? I mean, obviously he's still behind Brady given his track record, but his trajectory and everything. I mean, it's unreal.
I'm just dying scrolling through all these quote retweets.
It's incredible.
Jack sending you into Baltimore Twitter.
Yeah, he really screwed me there.
You can't argue Lamar's better than Josh Allen. I mean,
that's why I can't bring myself to tweet things like that, because I just know that potential fallout is within the range of outcomes, and I just can't deal with that shit. Someone did have a good suggestion for you, Andy, that you just need to write your own props for the wedding, and then you can get the other guests to bet on it. Just basically give in and create your own sports betting event.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. So Pete, where are you? So you get an action down at a bunch of, you're able to get enough down online. Like you're not limited at books and everything now.
I mean, I don't want to exactly go into everything that goes on, but yeah, I am limited at certain books. I've actually been limited by the majority of Colorado books, but
all right,
somehow figure out a way to get satisfied on the amount of action.
All right, to little Gracie in a trench coat, walking into the brick and mortar.
I have a feeling when Gracie's older, she's going to be a phenomenal bettor.
Oh my god!
Not really. I'm kidding. Hopefully she doesn't. She's not betting. I mean, that's not necessarily the life I want my daughter to live. But
oh man, yeah. Did you guys line up for the Holo drop today?
I did. Yeah, on both. I tried both Holo drops and the metallic drop. I didn't get a single one.
Yeah. I was MBL would shame me. I didn't qualify for the priority queue for the Holo, and I whiffed on general. Let's see how rich Pete is. Pete, did you line up for the Holo drop?
I legitimately wanted to today, and
too rich.
No, it's not that. The snow got me good, and I'm
You know what's awesome now though is you go to the site. Like I for me, this was a legitimate reason I hadn't in the past. Is like I just forget all of a sudden. It's like, oh shit, it's 12:30. I had to line up at 12. Like that is a very real part of my life. And they now have the thing where you can add it to your Google Calendar. And so like I went in for all of them, and like I clicked on the drop, and then they had a little link, and I clicked add it to my Google Calendar, and it popped right up with an event on my calendar to add it. It was honestly super helpful. It was really nice.
I'm a fish. I've been adding that to my calendar myself manually. There's a button?
Yeah. There was a button on the site to do it.
Wow. I'm going to take advantage of that. It does seem like the marketplace and excitement over these drops and these challenges, it seems like Top Shot's in a pretty good place right now, at least relative to sentiment a few months ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I feel like they're doing a really good job. I think that they've found a groove where really the people who are really on that site and grinding Top Shot at this point, they care about Top Shot, at least some iota more than just like extracting as much money as possible from the site, which definitely makes their life easier. But it feels like they've really kind of got a good cadence for everything right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm super bullish. I think they're going to continue to figure things out, and I'm excited to spend some more time. I bought that Luka moment the other night. I'm excited about what's happening, and I've heard a lot of people are really excited about the UFC product. I was just kind of disappointed at my first glance at the NFL product, but hopefully they get that right. And in NBA, they seem to be clicking. And one thing I do want to say, just going back to like our initial bear market conversations, and Andy hit on it a little bit, the level of appetite and the price action on NFTs during like this time is pretty incredible. And I don't know what to like make of it. Like I obviously it's I think bullish long term, but I'm trying to like wrap my head around exactly what's transpiring. I think we're all long term super excited, but the fact that it was able to have kind of this rally during a time where the crypto community is getting poorer and a lot of people are just taking less risk is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think this was since we last was this in between our anniversary show, but the KD that was what Rohan we were.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
I was very impressed with the commercial. I thought there were lots of ways that could have been cheesy or gone wrong, and I thought they almost perfectly nailed that commercial. I was pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Really good, actually. I thought it was
I think
your summary.
I think that's the perfect way to frame Top Shot to a normie audience of like, you have his jersey, you guys, these are all the ways you represent your fandom. Well, here's the ultimate way to show your fandom. It's owning a Top Shot moment. I think that's exactly how you frame it for people who might not know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. I thought it was great. It was really, really awesome.
Yeah. So that stuff is definitely exciting. And it's also, I mean, I think we talked about it before, when I came on the site, it was Tyler Hero, wasn't too involved, as the spokesman. And now to have KD, a top, you guys decide 5 player in the world, doing this top 3, I don't know. I think it just gives it the gravitas that really helps.
Question for you guys, and sorry, I just want to put a note. I really want to get Andy's perspective on this. Is what's happening right now in NFTs, in your view, the fact that basically the opportunity cost of using your crypto assets or these other things is lower? So I think in the past, there's some great, then there still are good yields out there, but the opportunity cost of not being in DeFi or some of these other things, especially when tokens are ripping, was very high. And obviously you're still speculating on NFTs, but now, is it because the law of that opportunity and people are like, I guess, a little more short-term bearish driving part of it? Is it just that NFTs as a whole are going to continue to soak up more and more market share, which I think is inevitable long-term, but is it just happening at an even greater rate? Like, what's your view on kind of why that dynamic's playing out?
Yeah, I think one of the things with NFTs, and not to shill my own bags here a little bit.
Chill away, buddy.
No, but I legitimately believe it, is like, I remember I tweeted at Vincent Van Dough months ago, just like casually when he was buying a ton of stuff. And I was just like jokingly like, hey, why don't you share the wealth on fractional and like fractionalize something? And he made this comment that was like, this isn't like a swing trade, this is a land grab. And I think one of the things that's just like fundamentally different with NFTs as opposed to like governance tokens or ERC20 tokens is that with there being this like this non-fungible finite amount of whatever asset it is, if people decide it's valuable and there's 10,000 of them, like you just might never be able to buy one. And so it's this like, you can always, if Uniswap's governance token goes up 10x, you can still buy your $10,000 worth of it. When it goes up 10x, you're just going to probably, have less upside. Whereas like there's a world where Bored Apes go to a number where you can literally never afford to own one. And so there's this like psychological thing there, I think, that is very real and happening, where like Bored Apes especially are hitting this cultural significance, at least currently, that feels very real and feels like a level of kind of taking off that we haven't seen in NFTs. And it's like, okay, if this happens and there's 10 historic PFP projects from the first 2 years that those are really a thing that just like really gain ground and they become the OG profile picture projects, like if you don't have them, you might just never be able to afford them. And that just might be like a part of it. And so I think that's like a very real, just active part of NFTs that does not exist in fungible tokens. And I have no idea how to value that or what it really means, but there's something, like you were saying, something at play here where people are significantly happier to own these NFTs than they are. And I think a big part of that is like risk moving around to different markets and stuff. But like you deposit your stable coins on Phantom right now and you could be making 50% APY on Phantom. There's tons of crazy DeFi stuff happening there. There's like 12 or 13 billion dollars on that chain. Like it's not that there isn't opportunity cost somewhere else to make really, really good money on your things. But I think it's like, I jokingly replied to someone today saying that like their tweet was about how it was, like in a world where everyone was trying to get risk off, like NFTs were the thing that was doing really well. And I was like, well, like ironically in NFTs, the largest risk you have is that you don't own any. Like that's,
I felt that way about punks before.
Yeah, yeah.
That was kind of what got me over the hump. And then when I've gotten really excited about punks, that's been the case. And one thing, Pete, to clarify, like about the ape trade, like I've sold, I think maybe 10 punks or something like that. 11.
Oh,
10,
I know,
11.
Pete.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. The net of that trade was very good.
I know. Well, we've never even, I think people have like pieced together, but a lot of people don't know our initial punk that I made the video about, and we sold it. And then the guy sold it
That
a
was
couple
pretty
weeks
close
later
to the
for
highs,
double.
right? That sale.
Well, the guy after us sold it at the high.
Yeah, I know, but still, but like I'm just trying to remember exactly.
Yeah.
That
But
was a
then
great punk.
Then we sat on our hands for like a couple weeks and we're like, man, this sucks being no punkers. We bought back a floor one that didn't resonate with any of us. Like none of us were.
It was like the lowest Lux beard. It was like something.
Yeah. And we didn't share it. We didn't post it. I think I put it on like one thumbnail once. And then one day Pete tax harvested it and I didn't know about it. But it was the right move to make at the end of the year. And then we rallied and bought another one that we like more. So no
And
harm,
the same
no foul,
day, the
right?
plan was to buy. It was when they were just cascading down, because if you remember, everyone was selling. And my view was that the delta between like floor punks and like a punk we'd want to earn or own long term, that was converging rapidly. If you remember, like a lot of really good punks were going around the floor. And obviously I wanted to do that. And my issue with that punk is we had listed it so many times, like at a relative price, and like it just never got action. And if you watch that guy now, he just trades like really close to the floor. And unfortunately, there was one I was having a lot of FOMO, and I obviously wanted to wait a couple of days, but there was a specific punk that sold like right before I listed mine even lower, that I was like, man, and I still saw like 6 or 7 that I thought were like substantially better for like a couple ETH more. And I think the one we got is actually like we traded it within 24 hours. And I think the one we got, I think that will over time still do much better than our old one.
No, I agree. I think this one is a fun one. I still have major regrets selling our first one.
Yeah, that one was sick.
Learned a lot through that experience. And, even having to do the song and dance with the tax harvesting, and don't get me wrong, the gains on the first sale were fun and great, but it's like, boy, would I just like to reset the clock and just be sitting on the first punk we bought.
Oh, it's the best. And then, yeah, you start going through ones that you want to hold, like that are really sick long-term. And like, there's the 1100 ETH bid on a zombie, and punks have had a day. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah. Huh? About time.
I mean, it was inevitable. It was really one of those things to me where it's like, punks are sitting at 65 ETH. There's just no way they stay here. But can you make more money in the next month flipping doodles and cool cats or whatever? That
was something I wanted to circle back to about when you said that line about from Vincent Van Gogh about the land grab. And one of the thing that is so interesting to me, and you see a lot of sharp traders like on that, and you were mentioning too, trying to figure out what the next Bored Ape is, whether that's the Cryptodes or the Doodles or whatever. And then people making plays on like the super rare ones of that next tier that could vault into the stratosphere. To me, that feels like a safer bet as far as like the land grab stuff. I still am blown away. And we were talking to Deez a couple of weeks ago, who had bought like a really nice one of one. I think it was an X copy, but that idea of like making a land grab on one of one or a specific artist without being buoyed by a community of 10,000 other holders or whatever, like I get like a knot in my stomach.
It's hard.
Like, what if the narrative on that fucking changes and you just are holding the bag? Whereas like, I don't really feel like that's going to happen to Bored Apes.
Yeah. Yeah. We think about like Hackatow, or I don't know how to pronounce their name, but they've had just like some pretty large collectors be like, listen, we don't like them anymore. They're giving us a hard time that we're listing their stuff for too little, a bunch of different things. There's a bunch of drama around them. And like the market on all their stuff has gone down significantly. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to these people. I'm not, I am, I'm active and try to be knowledgeable, but I'm definitely not by any means like the culture setter in crypto Twitter of what is popular or not in NFTs. And so that's always scary. I always like thought about whenever like I have a feeling that a PFP project is going to gain prominence. I was like, oh, I should look at what rares are there, and is there any ones that are like really good deal? And I almost always chicken out of actually doing one. Like I was remember looking at the Doodles back when their floor was like 2 or 3 ETH. I was looking at like their top like 100 rarest very seriously. There were a couple in like the 30 to 40 ETH range, and it was just like I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on it, even though I just had this like gut feeling that I should. It's definitely, I think it requires higher conviction because there's less liquidity, where like if you're like, oh shit, Doodles are crashing, no one cares about them, and you swept the floor at 2 ETH, you can probably sell all of your Doodles for 1 ETH, but you might not be able to sell the really rare one you bought for 40 ETH at 20 ETH. So I think that's probably where the risk comes in more, but the upside is definitely super, super high. It's higher risk reward with less liquidity.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of my actions just through the year and just kind of like playing out how 21 went through and just documenting some stuff. And it's so funny, like, you know, Nick Tomato's fund was super early and super rare. So I was looking at super rare, and I remember there's like an investor call for the fund. Like I was getting pitched on digital art, and I like was interested. And I remember looking around, and it's so funny. Like I remember looking at like X copies and like not fully understanding what it was. And now it's like so obvious, not just because of the price action, but like I feel like if I was like more immersed in the community, like X Copy is clearly just an awesome person and like doing a lot of great stuff. And the art's unique, and like every single piece, you just kind of know that it's X Copy, and there's all these people that are emulating the style. And it's just so like you always have like the hardest part about this game is that you always have like not even FOMO, but just you always second guess yourself, and like there's always these trades or things that you could have done differently that were better. And it's easy to play money boarding quarterback and have hindsight bias. But
yeah,
like I was looking at those in like the start of 2020 or 20. No, I'm trying to remember. I remember I originally found out about super rare like end of 2020, early 2021. I think that's right. And I remember looking at some of that stuff. Then obviously I bought some pieces. I think I bought my first piece in maybe January. So it's just so, I don't know. And we're going to have the same thing, like what we're doing now. Like there's clearly certain things happening, and it's going to be like so obvious in hindsight about certain things. So I don't know. That's a part of the bias I think is hard. And, you know, the other dynamic that I think is really hard for most people is, you know, if you do end up selling something or buying or whatever, like you're always comparing to like, oh, I should have sold at the absolute top. You're like anchored to whatever the highs are. And you're always anchored to like the lows of when you first saw a project, which is why I think Andy and you and I specifically didn't get into apes, is we had, you know, you had that ape in the past that you got for so cheap, and I passed on them very early on when Sean from Lucky Trader was like, hey, these are really cool. So I don't know, that part is still like a huge challenge.
Yeah.
How do you guys deal with that? Like, how do you guys think about that?
So I've been like pretty actively trying to combat that personally, and this fortunately, like it comes from a place of relative privilege. I'm just this year, I'm just going to ape into stuff. Because time and time again last year, it was like I saw something, I didn't buy it. It goes up 2x. Like I still think it's cool. I still think it's going to go up, but I'd missed an opportunity to buy it 2x cheaper, so I'm not going to. And then it goes up 10x more. And I just saw that happen time and time again last year, to a point where I was just like, you know, I'm just not going to do that anymore. Like if I go to sleep and the next day it's worth 2x and I still think it's cool, I'm just going to buy it anyways. It's like I've done that with Doodles, where I generally miss them. My cheapest Doodle I bought was like 6 ETH. I bought 2 more today for 9.5 ETH each. And I think they're going to go up long term. I looked at the floor when they were 2 ETH and didn't buy any, but I'm like very actively kind of pushing back against that like natural feeling of like being anchored to that earlier price. And I probably am going to overcorrect for it and buy some stuff too high and like end up losing some money on that. But I think it's like overall still healthy to do and try to combat.
When you are second guying like Doodles today, what kind of things is it? Just kind of general Twitter NFT water cooler sentiment? Is it kind of, you know, seeing what the team is doing? I'm guessing you're not doing 50 hours of research in their Discord. So like what gives you the conviction to, you know, buy at what might appear as an inflated price?
Yeah, for generally right now, and I've tweeted about this a little bit here and there, how I've been feeling about it is you currently have an absolutely massive gap in the PFP projects between you have like punks and apes that are 75 ETH and 95 ETH floors, respectively. And then you have just this massive gap down to the next wave of NFTs. And it's just like, to me, everything we saw with apes and them eventually flipping punks and them just like continually bringing on more and more people, I think that the people want to believe that the NFTs they own could be the next Bored Apes. And so it's like, apes flip punks, why couldn't cool cats flip punks? And like, to me, it just feels like it makes sense that there should be this more middle tier of project. And maybe what it is the middle tier is 10 to 15 ETH. And there's just this massive gap between the super high end and the middle end. And then there's the lower end, not lower end is not the right word, but slightly more cheap at the 2 to 5 ETH range. But to me, it's just like, it feels like there should be a PFP project where the floor is 30 ETH. That like would fill a gap in kind of the current market that doesn't exist. And so I'm just kind of like betting that that's going to happen, whether it's apes or cool cats or any one particular one, or not apes, doodles, cool cats, whatever. I don't really know, to be honest. Azuki, who knows? But I just am like owning a decent amount of each, hoping that one of them does fill that gap.
Yeah. Pete, are you making any bets on those mid-tier projects Andy was talking about?
Oh, I've just been so tilted by the lack of. It's been obvious to me in a couple of projects. World of Women was one. Ashley was looking for a bunch of those. Probably will still get involved in that in some capacity. Bought one, sold one. I probably will mispronounce it, but the Zukis. I saw D's posting about that. He's in some chats. I like pinged him and was like, "Show me this," and he gave me a good explanation. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll look at it, put it on the to-do list," and then things change. So yeah, I'm actively looking. I just feel like I'm constantly a little bit behind. But to Andy's point, I think, especially for us, like we're pretty plugged in. And a lot of it is just knowing like who you trust. And like there's certain people, if they're involved in projects, that I'm much more willing to kind of go down that same path. So yeah, long story short, I feel like I've just been a little bit late, but I'm probably not that late relatively. Like Danny's point, like if you just miss something slightly where you feel like, oh, I should have been on this just a little bit earlier, it's probably not that bad to make selective, like high conviction bets even a little bit after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like me with Azuki. I had like talked to the founders because they're fractionalizing one of the Azukis, like, you know, stuff. So I talked to them about that, and I was like, oh, these guys are really smart. Like, clearly they're not just some high schoolers who made some interesting art and want to try to sell it to make a couple $1 million. Like, clearly there's more that they're doing here. And I talked to them, didn't have time to do the mint. All of a sudden it was like a 1.78 floor, and I was like, ah, shit, I still want to have some of these because like pretty confident that they're going to execute well. And so I just bought a bunch on the like off the floor there. And so trying to like, that was like a great example of a time where I could have been like, the mint was literally yesterday, and I was just like in a work call and forgot to do it. And so I'm not going to buy it for 2x the price now, just like off OpenSea. But like nothing about that, me missing that, affected the reason that I wanted to buy in the first place. Like I didn't want to buy it at 1 ETH because I thought, oh, I can probably flip it for 2 ETH. It was like, oh, I think these guys are really talented and going to do a good job, so I want to have some. And it's not as much a question of like what is the right entry point or price point. It's like I just want to be exposed to this long term.
What is what's the deal with the Azukis? What about their team specifically gave you so much confidence in them?
They wrote like their own custom NFT smart contract. And like, I mean, they were talking to me like, hey, we wrote this thing that we think is more gas efficient. It does X, Y, and Z. We're really excited about it. And like, it wasn't just that they like, it was very clear that they spent a lot of time and developer resources and had people who were technically talented on their team who were doing things and they were taking it seriously. And so that, to me, that's like a very easy symbol of just like, yeah, these guys are not messing around. They're actively trying something new, trying to be like innovative and like a depth that just like starts and ends with them minting some NFTs. So that was why for me personally, but that was also like a pretty unique experience where, you know, I was on a Discord call with them before their mint happened.
Yeah. And it also seems like right now, it's like starting an NFT project is as easy as like starting a podcast or a blog with how like templated it. So, and a lot of things can probably look and feel similar at drop. So finding things that are a concrete differentiator, like actually looking at the code and the smart contract, that does seem like it would be helpful to have that added information.
Yeah. For sure.
Pete, anything else on your mind these days?
Yeah, I mean, one other thing I was just going to add that's really fun is like a lot of the Lucky Trader team is like grinding this stuff super hard, and I definitely would have done better just following a lot of like some of the convictions from the team. I mean, Lou, who's hanging out here, has had a lot of good calls. Sean has been all over a variety of things. Obviously, did Toads and like, yeah, like it's easy to be like, oh, I'm late, or oh, I'm things have already moved up. But like these people are super early. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of zeros and projects that don't work out, but I think we're in a very privileged situation where it's early days. We kind of have a good sense already of like who in the community is just like trying to pump their own bags versus like some of the long-term players. And yeah, when you come into like high conviction spots, it's just, I think it's good to be patient, but also I think I've had that anchoring bias towards a lot of the lower prices when I've tried to actually pull the trigger to buy.
Oh, actually, I needed to follow up on your comment. Ashley getting in the NFT streets, World of Women.
Yeah, I've been trying to show Ashley, and I think she's really interested in it. She's been learning more about crypto, which is fun, and be good to have her in the streets.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those projects have been mooning as far as like the Crypto Chick one, the World of Women. There's another one too that I'm forgetting. Boss Beauties was another one that's been doing really well.
I think women's fashion and like women getting involved in this, that there's all these other elements of like community and status and shopping and all these elements that I think play really well in NFTs. And like, I'm optimistic. And I think that's one thing we should all be working towards is just getting more women in the space. Like there's so much creativity there. Obviously from an artist perspective, we're seeing a good amount of women. But that's still like a big thing that needs to continue to happen. And yeah, look at how like Ashley is like obsessed with like Chanel bags and like some of this other high end stuff that's like, it's cool. I get it. I understand why, but there's no reason they shouldn't have like some cool NFT clubs, and like some of this could be a big part of what they're doing as well.
Oh yeah,
like,
you think about like Birkin bags and shit. It's like it's NFTs on steroids.
But
it's
imagine
like the ultimate whitelist.
Imagine you could get like a Chanel NFT. And then you would get like that's the example I always use of something that I would love to own is like the Jordan NFT. Obviously, I collect shoes, and like the low Jordan ones just came out on Nike. They're $140. Of course, I try to get them. I don't get them, and now they're $250, $260 on resale. Like I would love to have an NFT that just guarantees I get all the shoes. Like how much is that worth? That's what's really interesting. And I think something like that, specifically around some of the high end brands for women, could play really well too. Like there's something. Yeah. In fashion, I think in particular, that could be really big.
And that is the different, like, because you'd get the double whammy, right? You get the utility of, access to that stuff, but then it still is the online flex. So, if
huge online flex.
Right. But like your social group is probably far more online than Ashley's was. Maybe that's not a safe assumption to say, but it's like you get more flex equity out of your punk than maybe Ashley would out of a Chanel NFT online. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but that's always going to continue to shift. And imagine like there's all these, women at the country club or whatever. Then they're like, hey, look, I have this thing that's like enabling me to get all these great deals. Like I would be so stoked. Like all the guys I play golf with, they all collect Jordans and like a bunch of people are really into it. Imagine you just show up and be like, hey, look at this NFT. Like those country club people thought the link style thing was super interesting. Like we're going to start seeing some really cool stuff. And I think that, I'm optimistic.
I agree. I think this is going to come off as a not sounding like a man of the people thing, but like Allie has a woman at the YSL store that she texts when she wants to go to the store to like look at a new bag that's coming out or something like that. And she like wants one for the Louis Vuitton store, but doesn't know how to get, like, it's not just like a thing she can do. But if it was just like, oh yeah, I can buy you an NFT where you like can actively have someone where when you want to go to the store and do this type of thing, you have like a more white glove experience or something. Like That would do really, really, really well. I think it's just like not really me. Like it's mostly gaming and stuff that's generally targeted towards men at this point, and there's like a massive, massive space for it. Kind of
And I
There's all
think
these memberships that NFTs can become too. Like, just like another thought is just like, you know, people love spas, and there's like different spas that you can go to, like Timbers or whatever, like where you can get into like these nice hotels around the country, nice resorts, nice spas. Like, imagine there's an NFT for something like that women could own. To me, there's something fascinating, and like women love to show off that like they have, and men do too. Like they're like, if you have unique access to something and you have this collectible around it, I think there's something really, really cool that can happen there. Like the golf is a better example. Like, you know, if you're part of this club that could get access, like there's all these discovery properties right now. And this is super, super high end, these discovery properties. Like you need to spend $5-10 million on a piece of land and a house to like get access to most of these places. Like all in to get into a discovery property, it's normally in that range. Imagine they sold an NFT where you could get access to like all their different things. That would be like super, super, super high end. But in theory, it could be really cool for like a couple hundred people to have and trade.
Yeah. And I think we're also at the point now too, where it's going to be harder and harder to kind of sift through the noise, similar to kind of like the ICO boom, where even big companies are just slapping NFT and metaverse on.
They're all collectibles.
Yeah. And figuring out like which of these, you know, major brands are actually interested in understanding the space and creating a unique asset versus just trying to milk some money out of a fad.
Yeah, selling access or membership or things like that to me is a really cool thing. And I mean, obviously some of these things are not just collectibles. Like what Bored Apes is doing is amazing. Like it really is something super cool. And I underestimated it, and it's just, it keeps compounding. I mean, it's pretty incredible what they've been able to accomplish. And I think we'll see more stuff like that. And of course, you know, I'm talking about all this really high end stuff. There's going to be great opportunities where hopefully people can get NFTs in part of these communities for very little money. And there's like, you know, perks along that as well. So hopefully it just continues to expand, because I think that's one thing that's challenging right now. I have a lot of people who are just like, you know, asking about NFTs and whatnot. And it's a pretty big barrier to entry to spend a lot of money for a lot of this stuff. So hopefully there's a better market for that. And I think that's one thing Top Shot did better than any other company in the space, or any other project, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, it is still incredibly easy to get your money in your Dapper wallet and line up and get a pack.
You buy like a pack for $9. Like that's a great, that's really cool. Like what other things, like anything on like ETH chain, like you're going to spend way more than that, right? So it's just, I don't know. Hopefully over time that continues to change, and we'll see. But yeah.
I actually, Andy, I don't think we've gotten to talk to you about Looks Rare, because you weren't here last week was the anniversary. The week before that was D's, when I think that had just come out. Do you have any thoughts so far on the Looks Rare marketplace?
So I invested in it back. Oh, look who it is.
Look who it is.
I invested in it. I actually gave them the domain name, which is kind of fun.
Really?
Yeah, I bought I bought looksrare.org and looksrare like .app or something, and I had tweeted about it, and the creators DM'd me and they were like, "Hey, can we have this?" And I said, "Yeah, if you let me invest, you can have it." It's like, "What are you doing?" And then if you let me invest, you can have it. I think it's a cool idea. I think it's really interesting. Obviously, it's mostly at this point just wash trading. It seems like they're upgrading a lot of stuff on the site. It's getting better. Will it ever fully steal things from OpenSea or not? Like, who the hell knows? If I had to bet on what was going to like really steal most of OpenSea's market share, it wouldn't just be like a relative clone of OpenSea, to be honest. It would be like more project specific marketplaces, or these more like really in the weeds things. But I just think like competition for all this is good. And I think it's good to kind of push OpenSea and make them realize that like, hey, people really value even like this arguably worse product that just has a governance token. People really value it, and think about how much they would value an OpenSea governance token if that was ever something they would do. In general, I think it's just like a net positive for the space to keep pushing innovation and make people work hard and build interesting things.
Yeah, people. It's definitely captivated people's attention. It's funny how auto compounding and rewards will get people immediately interested in your marketplace.
Yeah, who would have guessed?
Coinbase, Facebook saying they're going to have NFT marketplace now. I'm sure we'll see a couple other decentralized attempts. I think a lot of marketplaces are going to at least consider offering things. And I think Andy's point is really good that competition definitely will help the consumer.
Yeah,
it's funny too. I even just seen this coming across my timeline a little bit tonight, but OpenSea with a couple tweets here about things they're fixing, and it does feel like
they've never done that.
They've never done this. Their feet are to the fire. We've updated our search ranks, searches with the proper space. Like they're like, oh fuck, we got to do something now. That's funny. Jack, how's the game?
Game was good. Doing everything I can. We are currently apartment searching, so my girlfriend is not happy that I went straight from the game to the stream. And I think I'm going to be Columbus, Vegas, LA, Cleveland next 4 weekends. So doing everything I can, taking a page out of Pete's book. But
perfect.
Game was good. It's kind of sad that Brooklyn actually doesn't have like fans, and you would think, you know, Jay-Z did the whole thing, the rebrand, they got 3 superstars, but a lot of Melo fans, a lot of LeBron fans, a lot of Laker fans out there tonight.
Wow. Yeah, so I'm looking up now. The Lakers upset the Nets?
Well, they were favorites because Durant's hurt and Kyrie, as everyone knows, cannot play at home. So it was Harden and the Funky Bunch. Both those supporting casts, both teams are brutally bad. I'm talking like not competent players. Although Malik Monk played well, but I got a pack today, so I'm excited. I assume we haven't ripped.
You got a holo?
I didn't get a holo. I got a Meagle, a Meagle.
Okay, yeah, you're a humble man. Yeah. So I did see your girlfriend talking about your apartment hunting, but it sounds like if you're just never at home, why do you need an apartment?
That's a great question. I think I needed somewhere to store my clothes. It's the most expensive closet in New York, essentially.
So I assume I would think there's decent options in New York now post COVID. Now everyone's back again.
Oh no, the market is brutal.
Brutal.
Andy, you guys bought, didn't you?
We bought June probably.
Nice.
Yeah,
we
got super lucky.
What'd you buy, Andy?
We bought an apartment. Well, condo, I guess. I don't know how.
It's new build, obviously, if you're not in, or
yeah.
Where at?
It's literally 2 blocks from where I am now, so it's in Williamsburg.
Awesome.
We got really lucky. Basically, so I would walk past to go to the gym, and we had been looking at places, and they were all insane, and because they were all not new builds, just like normal sales, and like. We went to one open house that it was out of our price range. Go to the open house just for fun. Literally, while we're still at the open house, they were like, just so you know, some guy just left the open house and offered 50% cash to buy the place at $50,000. So, well, he said they offered 50% cash to buy the place like the next day. And then the day following, our realtor called us and they're like, just so you know, the guy who offered 50% cash to buy the place just called and offered more money without anyone else countering him, just like preemptively. He was just like, yeah, I'll pay you $50,000 more than what I had offered yesterday, because they hadn't accepted it within like the 24 hours. So he was like, I don't want to lose it. And so it was like super competitive, but we got lucky and found a place that like it wasn't on the market anywhere. Like it wasn't listed. I just was walking past it every day going to the gym, and like reached out to our realtor, and he knew a guy who was able to get us to talk to the people. And so we were able to buy it basically before it was listed anywhere. So there couldn't really be like a bidding war for it or anything.
So there are other new builds in the building, or is your unit just being like?
Yeah, it's a full new building build. It's like 45 new units.
Perfect. What are the amenities like? Give us the amenities.
Pretty nice. So we honestly like all around just like super fortunate. We have it's not a mass. I mean, it's big for us. Our current apartment's only 800 square feet. The next one, this new place is going to be 1,600 square feet.
That's
also
great for 2.
Oh yeah, it's a 2-bedroom, so it's just going to be double.
You guys gonna have kids in the place?
We don't know if we want kids in general.
Wow.
Who knows? But so we also like it's on the top level, and so it has like a rooftop that was like 6.
Oh, you guys got the top unit?
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
There were like 5 or 6 units on the top level. And so we got one of those. So it has like a rooftop that was like 600 square feet with like a grill and a fridge and stuff. But then there was also a private like another private rooftop that like other people in the building could buy. And so we were like, how much does that cost? Can we just buy that as well and combine it into like a 1,200 square foot rooftop? And they were like, yeah, I don't see why not. And so basically for an incredibly small amount, all things considered, we were able to double our outdoor space.
You have 1,200 square feet of rooftop. That's yours.
Yeah. So we have 1,600 interior and 1,200 exterior with like a grill and fridge and all of that, which will be really nice.
Sick.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Party at
I'm
Andy's
really
house.
excited.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have some good get-togethers.
That's awesome.
Epic. That's awesome. Congrats, man.
Jack, would you and your girlfriend want to sleep on the on Andy's outdoor roof deck? You guys, it's a little safe.
We're pretty desperate right now. I mean, listen, I'm not Brooklyn desperate personally.
Oh, here we go.
I spent enough time there tonight. No, I like Brooklyn, but it was funny because obviously Lakers game, LeBron, they're going to get a huge Lakers crowd, but we were doing pregame content like with the game day. And we were trying to do a whole bit because I'm going to be in LA for the Super Bowl with them about like, we're asking people from Brooklyn and New York about like, what do they think of LA fans? And we'll do the same when we're there in a couple of weeks. There was no one there from Brooklyn. Like not a single person from Brooklyn, lived in Brooklyn. It was pretty nuts. But yeah, the market is tough in New York right now. We're not buying, but we're trying to flex a studio into a one bed. So that's where we're at.
What areas are you guys looking in?
We're in, I think our new spot's going to be like potentially Tribeca. I really like, it's like way more quiet down there.
Yeah, it's a nice area.
Yeah. So that we've looked at West Village, but West Village, obviously you sacrifice a ton of space to be kind of in the heat of things.
Why not buy Jeremy's old spot?
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe I'll just sleep in his pool. Like,
I think Jeremy's going to lose that spot in like a month or so. He said he's going to do LA for the Super Bowl, ski for a month, and then Miami.
I'm going to need like.
Wait, really? I'm pretty sure I'm going to his house on Thursday. Is he still there right now?
Yeah. He's there now. He's there for the next. I think he's in New York till Super Bowl. Then he goes to LA for the Super Bowl. If we could get like 5 more Top Shot bull markets, I could probably snag Jeremy's spot.
That place is crazy.
Yeah, Jack, did you bring up a sign to the game tonight to show your moment to LeBron?
Is your LeBron still for sale, Jack?
I had a moment today. Obviously, that word gets used a lot. But my moment today was I posted on Twitter. Some guy tweeted about how like he's collecting moments with his son. And I was like, I loved collecting cards for like the collecting. And then with Top Shot, like, I guess in part because they aren't tangible, I feel less of a connection, a little bit less. But I had a moment today where I was like, damn, I miss like opening packs, like actually collecting and owning the moments, whatever. So for temporarily, the LeBron is off the market. But I swear to God, I have mood swings when it comes to Top Shot. I'm selling.
We know, Jack. We follow you on Twitter.
So no, Pete, unless if LeBron had, said something to me tonight, maybe I would have considered.
Gives you a little wink up into the rafters.
Yeah. Well, we were literally in the rafters. I
know that's why. My tickets aren't available tonight.
Yeah, let's go with that. It's crazy.
Yeah, you were getting non-woodpecker shamed for that photo, Jack.
I know. Whatever.
Do you want to open this pack to close us out here?
Yeah. Did you guys rip Holo and everything?
None of us got it.
No packs.
Coney Dog,
I
one of our
someone
VIP. Coney Dog was. Then he big timed us. So yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it goes. All right, let's do it. Damien, you can retire. Let's call up Steve Kerr right now. I'm out of practice. That's not even the right one. This is the right one. Yo, what up? It's DJ Pete Overzet. Welcome to the club. We didn't think things were going to get popping tonight, but it's about to get lit. Behind door number 2, it's a 3-pointer. 13-25, Kevin Durant. We're going to get a LaMelo. We're going to get a Luka. We're going to get a LeBron. Victory reveal. Let's go. God damn it. I don't need another layup. To the window. To the wall. The De'Aaron Fox stripped down my ball. 293 assists. Everybody get their drink.
drinks. Let's get a cheers tonight before we open up these nice packs.
All right, cheers. We got waters, empty waters. We got La Croix.
I did have a beer tonight, and I forgot to mention, I met potentially the world's second biggest FVV fan outside the stadium. Like Lakers Nets game, some guy in an FVV jersey. So I was like, I gotta ask, like, what's going on? He's like, I'm from Toronto, love Fred VanVleet, but I'm just a fan of the sport. And I was like, you know about like NBA Top Shot? And he was like, I think so. So we're still early, but I was like, I know I'm friends with the biggest Fred VanVleet collector in the world. And he was really excited about it.
Wow. Yeah. I would probably even part with one of my moments from the vault just to get him started on Top Shot. Although maybe I'd create a monster and then he'd surpass me in FVV moments.
Right. That would be dangerous. He can just get a starter pack, $9. Kevin Durant. Come on.
Yeah. Worm says he would have opened your holo in the club. Didn't know you were looking. Worm, I said it in the channel today. You were probably too busy questing your heroes on DeFi Kingdom to see the offer, but it's always open for the VIPs to come on and rip.
When's DeFi Kingdom to Avalanche? I'm still waiting on that. When is that?
Soon, I think, right? They did the snapshot.
I need to follow up on that.
So DeFi Kingdom is also in your Discord, right, Pete?
No, yeah, lots of kingdoms. No, it is on the Harmony Network, not
No.
Peter Overzet Discord.
No,
network.
but your deposit kingdom.
Yes.
But isn't there a DeFi Kingdom channel within deposit?
There is. Yeah, there's
Okay,
multiple.
but
There's one.
Pete and Andy are talking about something completely different, right?
They're talking about the actual network. The
Right.
game is also, it's on a network called Harmony, and it's also going to be coming to the Avalanche network.
That's what I'm going to get. I'm going to go ham. Ape in.
There
Pete,
you go.
did you buy any punks recently?
No, I did not buy any punks recently.
Does that upset you? I feel like you're due for a punk buy.
Really? I was talking about how I sold an ape like 2 weeks ago and feeling like an absolute donkey. But other than that, I've been looking at some apes tonight.
Imagine buying an ape.
We should go shopping
between the
one
ape
time.
party.
You know what we should do on Club Top Shot? We should go shopping. That would be a great episode.
Well, the
Just kinda
funniest
get money and just start blasting.
in the early days of Top Shot, we were gonna go shopping collectively as a unit for like some legendary or hollow moment, and we probably would have had to spend like $300 a pop to buy something nice. But
Now, you know what we should do is we should like do some like party bids or like something like that where we just like start something and we all throw in one ETH and see if we like get a group together to buy a floor, Azuki, or punk or ape or whatever. That'd be super fun.
Oh,
I like it. Get back to our fractional roots here.
yeah, we should use that site. It's like fractional.art or something.
I thought it was. Is it Frake Tional? It was how kind of I've always said it in my head.
That's true.
That's how I
That's
say it
like like Arftikati Studios.
Oh my god, I know there's so many now like crypto and NFT native words that you only read, and then you as a broadcaster you're just so fearful for the day you say it just completely wrong and expose yourself.
I had no clue that was Artifact Forever. All right, I'm shared up. I got audio pumping. What's the chaser in here? Do we know?
What do you mean?
Like what's the best moment? Is it
I think it's Luka.
Luka?
Oh no, this is the MGLE. I don't know.
Yeah.
Luka's in the hollow, right?
There's gotta be. Is there a rookie MGLE? D-Mang says I don't hear anything because I haven't hit open your pack yet, D-Mang. All right, here we go. LaMelo and
nice music.
This is the
All right,
OG.
Jack, we're gonna do a walk-off pack here, so make this good.
All right, you want to say goodbye to the people?
Yo, people, we're only 1 week into our second year here at Club Top Shot. Really appreciate you coming out tonight. Unlike the fans of the New Jersey Nets, you people get your butts in the seats. We got front row seat.
Brooklyn.
Real quick, boys, I miss you guys. I wish I was doing this. Sorry, we have the Tuesday Basketball League. I'll make sure we don't get that in the future, but legitimately, we lost the game because I wasn't there last time, and it's just it absolutely crushes my soul. We lost an 8-point lead with a minute and a half where they can't, there's no shot clock because we couldn't hit
The
free
Wizards
throws.
are honored by your performance.
No,
Dude,
Pete,
that's the only time I have value. Get me in the game where I can get an open three, or get me in the game where I can dribble around and get fouled and shoot free throws. That's what I want to be in the game.
no, Pete, I'm not going to actually let you off the hook for this, because you did Club Top Shot on Tuesdays for a full goddamn year and then looked at a schedule.
Levitan gets the league, sets up for Tuesdays. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Levitan was a guest as well.
Trust me, Pete, I know how rec basketball leagues work. There's fucking one on every night of the week, okay? You don't get off the hook.
I mean, Levitan set it all up. Beers at Chili's and these great places. I mean, how can you beat that?
You can't.
After the game.
We
might have been going to Yard House, but it was hilarious. We would the first game. The only thing that was open because it was like an 8:00 game was Chili's right after the game, which is so funny.
Pete,
but it's legit really fun.
I went to Chili's in Tahoe on, it must have been Friday. I hadn't been there in ages. Had a great time getting the margarita and the shaker, bottomless chips. Love Chili's.
Dude, Southwestern egg rolls
too.
Yes. Well, I get the triple dipper.
Of course. Southwestern egg rolls, sliders, and boneless.
And boneless buffalo wings. Yep. Ship it. All right. Back to our continued program.
We won our game last night, Pete, so that's for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll miss you guys for the next couple months, but I'm going to come back with a huge championship belt. For winning the 35-year-old league.
Who?
Dylan Johnson.
JJ.
Okay. JJ.
So 3 badge rookie at least.
3, yeah.
Say his name, Jack.
Nemanja Bjelica.
The assist king, obviously.
Is that actually correct?
It is.
Bjelica's right, yeah.
Do this one, Pete.
Daniel, the name's so nice, you got to say it, Tice.
Wow.
Any relation
this is a crazy group of players in this. This is like a bunch of journeymen.
Well, Torian's game-winning layup is on Embiid. We got Bjelica faking out AD. Rashawn Holmes.
Man, Top Shot's really changed in the past year. I went from recognizing like 40% of the names to 20%.
All right, this is all that matters.
Right.
I'm good here.
Here we go.
Let's go.
Rip it, and we're out. Miami Heat. Rare 253.
Kyle Lowry.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Oh, that was nice.
That was a sick move.
Ankles.